companies will hire mathematicians for all sorts of things, but they don't necessarily hire lots of mathematicians. So it's not necessarily clear what type of career trajectories math majors can pursue.
In the aerospace industry in general, systems engineering is becoming more and more important, especially managing supply chains and stuff. There's a lot of interesting problems in there for a variety of math backgrounds, even the more pure mathematicians. Any large engineering company will have a core set of systems engineers.
Greetings, welcome to Eric's Angle, the podcast for Iowa State mathematics students. I am your host, Eric Weber, chair of the mathematics department at Iowa State University. Today's guest is not an alumni of our program. Her name is Alli Fischer, and she is the wife of my current postdoc, Enrique Alvarado. Alli now works at Boeing in their research and technology group. She talks a little bit about what it's like to work in industry. She earned a PhD in applied mathematics in 2023 from Washington State University. So she knows what it's like to be an academic, but also working in industry, and I'm glad that she's here to talk about her experiences. Please welcome Alli Fischer. Hi, Alli. Thanks for appearing on Eric's Angle.
Thanks, Eric, for having me. I'm excited to be on your podcast, and I'm excited for you to be able to have a solid math communications podcast and help it grow.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Allison. I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona, born and raised. I moved up to Washington State to go to undergrad at Gonzaga University, and there I studied biochemistry and math. During undergrad, I started working with my PhD advisor and someone on my committee. And after that, I moved up to Pullman and was able to go to grad school there and got my PhD in mathematics and then my master's in statistics from Washington State University. For my statistics master's that I did concurrently to PhD, we had to do a consulting class, and the consultant that I got the company that I got paired up with was Boeing, and so that's how I got introduced to my current mentor at Boeing. And I did a really cool problem, used really good math to satisfy a business need, and then from that project, I was brought on to the math group within Boeing, which is one of the largest math groups for any industrial company. I think the NSA has this beat.
The NSA, right?
Yeah.
So you did a statistics master's degree.
Yep.
At the same time, you did a mathematics PhD.
Yes.
So were you tempted at all to pursue a PhD in statistics instead of math while you were doing that?
Well, I did math, bio, and applied mathematics, and almost all my research had a stochastic component. So I had already taken a lot of the classes for the statistics masters. I think I needed 3 extra classes beyond what I'd already taken. And then a thesis project. For my thesis project, I helped 2 professors in the vet school, 2 vet students, and we studied. It was the largest study of respiratory diseases in horses, and I helped with some of the statistical analysis for that project. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
I guess I should say for our audience that you are one of the few guests on this podcast series that's not an alumni of Iowa State University.
Yeah,
But you do have a connection, though.
I do.
Yes.
So my husband, who we actually met in undergrad, I was a sophomore, he was a junior at Gonzaga, and we were lucky enough to be able to go to grad school together. He's currently a postdoc at Iowa State working with Eric. So it's pretty cool to have that connection. Another cool Iowa State connection that I found out was my great-grandpa went to Iowa State in the 1930s. So that was a pretty cool connection. He didn't finish because of the Depression, but
Well, I'm glad to hear that you have that additional family connection.
yeah.
Any idea what he studied when he was here?
I think it was agricultural because they had a family farm. I forget exactly what, but
So you have some familial roots in the state of Iowa.
yeah, ironically. It's a small world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so you're talking about the statistics project and mathematics, your PhD project. I'm wondering now in your role at Boeing, like, do you think you use more of your mathematics background or more of your statistics background or sort of a mixture of both? Like, how does that play out in your role now?
Honestly, a mixture of both. I'm really lucky at Boeing because of the nature and complexity of the engineering problems we're trying to solve. Naturally, really cool mathematics problems pop out. And for projects, I've actually been able to use some of my really nitty-gritty PhD research and also been able to use some of my statistical research and very much cutting-edge mathematics, which I was surprised at that I was able to use those, some of the more cutting-edge mathematics, and people were open to it there. I feel really lucky to be at the group I'm in.
Yeah, that's really cool. So what does a typical day look like then in your job?
Typical day, there's always some admin stuff, so replying to email, making sure I have the right paperwork done, IT compliance, a little bit of coding, some research. If there's something that I do that's the business values, maybe talking, like a lot of typical companies will protect their IP, so talking to different legal partners and stuff like that. It's the whole process of research, so from beginning of problem formulation all the way through protecting our IP I'm involved in all those pieces.
Mm-hmm. And how do you find projects? Are they assigned to you? Do you go looking for them somehow? How's that work?
Yeah, so the math group is, we help with problems that help the whole enterprise, so a little bit of both.
So they come to you and somebody comes to you and says, I've got this problem. Can you help me solve it?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
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 And it may involve research, almost like
Yeah.
new math results from the sounds of it.
Yeah, and we'll patent some of the algorithms and stuff, and protect our IP.
So does it feel like an academic environment at all? I mean, do you do seminars where you present what you're doing to other people? And
Yeah, and we bring in external collaborators. I'm collaborating with 3 different university professors right now, maybe 4. I'm very heavy duty research, trying to do some good work. So and then ironically, I'm teaching too. I'm teaching a math class for the machinist as part of their apprenticeship program.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So it's as research heavy. Actually, I feel like I'm empowered more because people are open to a variety of different problems. So I'm doing just as heavy research as I was doing during PhD. One little difference between industry and academia. In industry, we try to not, polishing a stone is kind of thing. So if you have something that's good and solid you don't want to just keep polishing till it's perfect. There's different levels of acceptance and executive direction that your problems have to do. Including in academia, it's very important to do the right research at the right time, trying to have like a research plan and a strategy for your overall research portfolio, especially if you're applying to like tenure track jobs and stuff. However, that's even more important for a company. Like, we don't want to be doing research that's 80 years too far in the future when we could do that research 60 years later. So we want to be doing the right research at the right time. So there always is some kind of strategy with your research, and that's a little bit probably even more important in a company. Yeah. And I'd say that's for companies in general.
Right, yeah. It is one big difference, I would say, in that research in an academic environment is largely self-directed.
Yeah.
And what you're describing is not quite as self-directed.
Yeah.
So the timing, as you indicate, is probably a part of that. Like, the company says, we need this now, we don't need that now, even though you could do that in terms of your skill set and interests and so forth, but that's not part of the mission at that moment. So that's what I'm hearing you say. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I would even say some of the more successful academics I've seen have also focused on doing the right research at the right time, like, and also sharing the right research at the right time with the right audience. I think I can do the cool math, but if I can't communicate it to my colleagues or communicate it to the larger math community, then, that's maybe a failing as a mathematician, because, doing the cool research is one part, but sharing it with others and doing what you can to help others adopt your methods, I think, is just going the extra step for your research. And I've seen that, and also for successful academics too.
Yeah, that's great. I like to say that if you've solved a math problem but you haven't communicated your solution to anybody, have you really solved it?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
That sounds like what you're saying.
And it's
another
a
way of
skill.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a skill. That's right.
Yeah.
Something that we don't necessarily emphasize quite so much in a PhD program.
Yeah.
We should, but we don't necessarily take it upon ourselves to train that skill set. So are there opportunities like this for math majors that don't have a PhD or even a master's degree? Like, what does that look like from your experience?
I think there's larger opportunities in the aerospace industry. I think in the more like the research arm of Boeing that I'm in, I think having that advanced degree is a good way to get your foot in the door. But I mean, throughout the whole aerospace industry, there's all kinds of people that come together to build a company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to say that companies will hire mathematicians for all sorts of things, but they don't necessarily hire lots of mathematicians. So it's not necessarily clear what type of career trajectories math majors can pursue. But I can imagine in an aerospace company, which is very engineering focused, mathematically oriented engineering, no less, if you're thinking about like fluid dynamics and so forth, together with, financial and economic predictions and global environments and things like that. I mean, I could imagine lots of mathematicians beyond the research team that you're a part of being in an environment like Boeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the aerospace industry in general, systems engineering is becoming more and more important, especially managing supply chains and stuff. And I think There's a lot of interesting problems in there for a variety of math backgrounds, even the more pure mathematicians, especially with some of the breakthroughs in network analysis recently. I think there's tons of really good problems in systems engineering, and I think any large engineering company will have a core set of systems engineers, and those are good people to collaborate with.
I have a question for you about that I've talked to a lot of people regarding this, which is when a job title has got the word engineer in it, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be somebody with an engineering degree. And I'm getting the sense from what you're describing with these system engineers, it's not necessarily the case that you have to have an engineering degree,
I think,
to succeed in a job like that.
Yeah, you can collaborate with systems engineers, but how jobs are set up, like the title of engineer is actually a protected title. And so you need I think it's like some certification in order to be an engineer.
Oh, like in the aerospace industry?
So systems engineers, they'll have like a systems engineering degree, but they'll collaborate with...
Like they have to be licensed engineers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a protected title.
I know other companies, they don't have the same type of constraint.
Yeah.
So at a place like Boeing, if it does say engineer in the job title, that may be more stringent than some other organizations.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, we have an engineering union.
Aha. Okay.
So infer what you want from that.
Yeah. So what is your job title? Does it say mathematician or something like that?
Applied mathematician is my actual title.
Yep. And that's a research role, as you described, so the advanced degree would be probably required.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what kind of job, like if one of our math majors at the undergraduate level wanted to check out job opportunities at a place like Boeing, what job position should they look for? Like what should they look for in a title?
Yeah, I think for the larger aerospace industry in general, I think managing the supply chain is a very complicated problem, and there's a lot of moving parts. And so I think people who are mathematically inclined can help any company in an aerospace industry with supply chain, and that could include like our auto manufacturers. They also have supply chain stuff that they can do. Like data scientists, I think, is kind of the classic answer. Some of the financial modeling is, especially if an undergrad has good PDs under their belt. And I think a lot of people forget like how good a mathematics degree just looks in general. Like mathematicians have a really good way of logically thinking and explaining arguments to others, and that's really their skill set. So especially people who are good communicators. So if you have that strong sense of communicating complex concepts and also being able to like piece together those complex concepts, I think you could kind of leverage your degree. And maybe not the most typical role. Like it's not like you're going to go and be like, okay, I want to be a mathematician. Although there are jobs like I have being a mathematician, I think you really have to think about what value a mathematics degree brings versus other degrees. And I think we definitely do, especially in undergrad, more proofs than any other major. So what kind of skills does writing a proof give you that industry would be happy to have, and kind of sell yourself as a unique person in that sense, and a logical and meticulous and stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with all of that. I'd say that our math students' strengths typically are problem solving and, taking a problem, maybe decomposing it into smaller parts if necessary, finding solutions, thinking outside the box with solutions,
definitely.
not using pre-manufactured, pre-canned solutions for problems. One thing that I think is particularly a strength for our math majors is the abstract thinking. Not only problem solving, but solving problems in an abstract description or an abstract context or an abstract solution. And when you're talking about, like you mentioned, supply chains, it's so large that you can't really conceptualize it on a granular level. You have to start thinking about it abstractly.
Yeah, and globally too. Like if tin or aluminum prices shift, then what does that do to your global supply chain? And they're big, complicated, unsolved problems. So.
And our students are really good at thinking that way and solving problems like that. So, and then the communication part, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then I think the other skill I think are really good within undergrad mathematicians is kind of that judgment. Like, I think even if you went back and reread your old proofs from maybe earlier in your career, you could say, okay, what would I do to refine this and make this better? Kind of that judgment of understanding what it would be a better argument, I think, is really important, especially with a lot of the AI stuff that's being generated. Being able to have that judgment about, hey, this output from AI is not great. Like, that's, I think, an underutilized skill. But I think mathematicians have the most practice of any major on that.
Yeah, I agree with that too. That's a great point. Yeah. Well, Alli, it's been great having you on this episode of Eric's Angle. I appreciate the conversation, and thanks again.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Thanks for helping the math community.